Nigerians, this lawyer don expose Wike, the FCT minister. For the sake of peace, may we not allow Wike or President Tinubu or any APC supporter or any Wike supporter to come across this particular video, because wetin this lawyer just tell Wike for im own face for inside this particular video, I no go like make Wike make e hear am. Make una come hear this lawyer im own reaction for so many questions wey be like say one journalist dey ask am for inside this particular video about wey dey say Wike tell or wetin he talk about Amaechi, and im own reaction as well about the happenings in this country. But na wetin he come talk at the ending of this video na wetin shock me.
Federal Capital Territory Minister Nyesom Wike has described former Rivers State Governor and African Democratic Congress Vice Presidential candidate Chibuike Amaechi as a political liability with no electoral value in Rivers State or the South-South. Speaking during his monthly media chat in Abuja, Wike also declared that President Bola Tinubu is the only candidate capable of winning Rivers State in the 2027 general election, insisting that any political calculations for the state should favor the president. Questioning Amaechi's political influence, Wike argued that the former Minister of Transportation has reportedly failed to deliver electoral victories despite serving as Director General of Muhammadu Buhari's presidential campaigns in 2015 and 2019, and later supporting Atiku Abubakar in the 2023 election. He also criticized Amaechi for allegedly condemning the ADC presidential primary as irregular before accepting its outcome, and suggested that his selection as a vice presidential candidate was based on financial considerations. Wike further blamed Amaechi for the defeat of former President Goodluck Jonathan in the 2015 election, arguing that the South-South would not forget his role in opposing Jonathan's second-term bid. The minister also highlighted what he described as unprecedented federal attention to Rivers State under the Tinubu administration, citing projects such as the Bonny Road. He added that a coalition involving the PDP, APC, Labour Party, Action Alliance and other groups had united behind Tinubu's re-election and would jointly field candidates for legislative positions in the Rivers State ahead of the 2027 polls. Now, Asim Adams, I want us to look at this conversation from two perspectives. The first is the allegation that Amaechi worked against Goodluck Jonathan's second-term bid, right? And the second one is how Amaechi initially went to court challenging the outcome of ADC presidential primaries, saying it was rigged and not consistent with the electoral laws. And then, at the end of the day, suddenly accepted the same system that he faulted and became the vice presidential running mate of Atiku Abubakar, a product of the same system. And he's now telling Nigerians, oh, I want you to vote for us. We are the best thing that has happened to you after all, so far. What would be the confidence that if you are a product of a rigged election, according to him, what's the confidence that going into this election, they will not play, hanky-panky? But first of all, let us look at the Goodluck Jonathan saga before we come down to Amaechi's change of mind.
Well, we all know that Amaechi played a pivotal role, very crucial role, while the South-South or River State people did not vote for Jonathan. That is in terms of his political engineering. I said this before now, that at that time, Amaechi was a political bulwark in Rivers State. People believed in him. Even me speaking here, I saw Amaechi as a political iroko as at that time. I was looking at Amaechi and Amaechi philosophy and principle, political ones for that matter, and I followed him to an extent. When he said that Jonathan, etc., as the case may be, was no longer viable, he was the one that joined the opposition, by which they formed the APC that took out Jonathan in 2015. Amaechi was part of it. Yes, we agree with that, and I don't think that the Niger Delta people or the South people are forgiving him. It's a political baggage he has. It's a political yoke that he has. He has not been able to discharge that political yoke, as the case may be. Because if you ask any Niger Delta man now, the first thing that I would tell you is Amaechi that did this. Amaechi that came and made us take out Jonathan. We thought that Jonathan was a devil, but not knowing that he was an angel. At this point in time. The second one is that many lawyers like me, we have not forgiven Amaechi because he made me jobless for about 1 month, 1 year.
Because of the crisis.
He closed the courts. And that particular day I was in court, by the grace of God, I escaped being harmed. Because I was at the magistrate court building when some boys entered, because there was a crucial judgment that was to be given a particular day, that was this sense it was going to be against him and against the government. So hoodlums and charlatans in velocity entered, the gates of the high court premises, and I think there was, mayhem was unleashed. We had to be locked up, at the 4th floor because the people were saying lawyers should just stay back. So it's something that is still in my retentive memory. So I don't know whether many lawyers are forgiving him or people in River State or the workers for 1 year, as the case may be. Then you now add that to the yoke that he has taken up Jonathan, as the case may be. That is number 2. So you come back again to when he was minister under, Buhari. Amaechi was Minister of Transportation. The same thing now, Festus Keyamo and the rest of them are doing very well now. He was always concentrating on railway, no problem. Among the fanciful railway, whatever that he did, according to him, using trillions of naira borrowed from China, where exists one of those particular routes or whatever in River State or in the Niger Delta, I have not found anyone. With this a man who has that knack for people, something has to do with rail, like monorail he did. We see how that one visible today. That monorail is standing like the Egyptian sphinx looking at us, as the case may be. We cannot move it, it cannot move itself. It's there as a relic. If you go to that era, you would think that it was part of Ukraine, where Russia bombed, that will have those relics left there, as the case may be. So we thought that given the second opportunity to do something about railway, that he would have done something akin to the monorail in this, maybe even not River State, but the south side, as the case may be. I don't know of any route, but he was only interested in doing a particular route from Lagos to Maradi in Niger Republic, trying to satisfy, President Buhari as at that time, who was his godfather, political, or I don't know, as the case may be. So these are minuses for him, in terms of whatever that has happened. So people will not forgive him based on all these things I've listed, plus other ones we cannot say on television right now. So he has a heavy yoke, like I said, that he has to discharge. It's a burden. I don't know if it will take him about 100 years to discharge it or something like that.
Do you think these issues that you just mentioned could be part of the reason for his declining political influence in the states?
It's part of it. It's part of it. It's part of it. That is part of it. Declining political fortunes and influence. Yes, this is part of it. Then coming back now to the second question, court. 1999 Constitution says that if I feel aggrieved that my right has been breached, I have the right to approach the courts. So he utilized that particular constitutional provision, for him to go, look, I don't agree with what you guys have done, the ADC primaries. Atiku Abubakar, I have to go to court because he found out 1 or 2 things were wrong with the process, not the substance, not the process. He found out that something was wrong. He didn't say that Atiku was not qualified, eminently, but he said the process bringing in Atiku was not proper and there was no due process. Under that particular plank, of course, he has a right to challenge and go to court to challenge. But where lies credibility, principles, integrity, that is where the question now lies. The benign, a labyrinth of he is going for this particular whatever. shoot him on whatever means that he's a man that lacks principles. Then he's a man that is short of integrity. You know, he's a man, you know, that you know, has no ideology. You know, in the sense that, let me put it this way. Now, if I have principles, something I've gone against, I can let go, but I will not participate or maybe even work with that same, you know, balderdash process that I criminalized or condemned. I'll give you for an instance. You see, there's a man they call Al Gore. Al Gore was one time president, the presidential candidate of America. Then he had something with George Bush or the senior, the junior, whatever the case may be, in the Florida elections that the Supreme Court said they cannot, he now stopped counting. He was thinking that if they had allowed, you know, the counting to take place in Florida, maybe that would have turned the apple cart and he would have become the president of America. He went to court and we went to Supreme Court and challenged it. But when he got in there and lost, he now said, well, not that I'm supporting what George Bush did. What George Bush did was very wrong. It was an infraction on our constitution. But I give up on principle in the sense that the Supreme Court of America is the highest court in the land. So I will submit to their judgment, not that I agree with their judgment. But Amaechi, I don't know right now, you know, whether he agreed, you know, with the process. He didn't agree with the process. You understand? That was why he challenged it. But coming back now to now belong, participate in that same process he condemned means that we have to look at his judgmental, you know, sensory, you know, organ. Does it mean that the process was very okay, but he went out frivolously, mischievously to criticize the process, as the case may be? So that has to do with integrity as a whole. So if you coming back, say the man is coming to eat his vomit, is it not so? There are animals that regurgitate, you know, like cows regurgitate, you know, what they have taken, they bring it out again, begin to chew it again, you know. So when you talk about principles, integrity, as case may be, I will not place much weight on integrity, on principle. Because if we were to be a principled man, you say, I'll follow that matter to the end of it so that we'll change. Let me tell you why. You see, people like Mahatma Gandhi, people like Nelson Mandela, today are popular people. They had what we call the puritanical discipline. What does that mean? Puritanical discipline is this. A mind that could see, I'm very hungry for this right now. I'm seeing food in front of their passing place of us. I will not take it because I don't know the source of that particular whatever the case may be. And no matter how hungry I is, let me drop dead, I will not eat that food. I go my way to go and chew grass, you know, like the animal, instead of eating that particular food as case may be. That is puritanical discipline. We have men of that substance and value. You know, what's his name? Nelson Mandela. While he was fighting, he was a lawyer. A high-stake lawyer. He was wealthy by standard of South Africa. He had the powers. The apartheid regime called him and said, you have been against us. Can we just do this or whatever? We give you this or minister or whatever. The man said, no, I will not do that. And he said he would have nothing to do with apartheid until apartheid is out there. That is integrity. That is principle. So, but when you begin to criticize a particular whatever and you now go back to it, it becomes a problem. Look at Gani Fawemi. Gani Fawemi criticized governments. Then the government of Abacha put to him and said, you have to be our Minister of Justice. He said, I will not take that because this is a government I've criticized from day one to this particular present. Why will I participate? So for me to be able to go back after going to court, because you know the reason why you go to court? There are actionable reasons for you to go that, and there are, you know, that puritanical discipline reasons that you have to go and do these things. Now, if you have jettisoned those things on the platter of Amala, it becomes a problem I cannot really conjecture right now. Because what he did was that, if you look at what happened in the case of Amaechi, let me tell you what happened. He now had to, you know, waive or set aside his principles, his integrity that made it to go to court on a platter of the vice presidential, you understand the point now? The vice presidential, you know, ticket that will give him political power, not power based on integrity on principles. And that is why you see today, a man like Sowore, I respect him. He may not have been, they have come for him. They will arrest him, but he has a particular course and trajectory is following. He's beating that particular path. He has no change. But so that tells you, and if I want to able put this, succinctly, let me ask you, let me able put this thing. I'm not trying to insult him, but let me put this way. There's this particular, poet, his name is Edmond. He said that politicians should be treated like diapers. You understand the point? He even said that politicians are like diapers. You understand the point? So what are we talking about? The only reason why Nigerian politicians go to this is because they need that capture for power. And that's why you see Niccolo Machiavelli in his thesis, the prince, the prince, he wrote that book called The Prince, where he talked about power. He said something, he said, politicians should not deceive you. They should stop deceiving, like Amaechi deceiving people. People are deceiving all of us. Let me tell you, the essence of politics is the struggle for power. So he saw that now, that the only way I can be relevant is for me to go and grab that slot against my discipline, against my principle, against my integrity.
But do you think his alleged role in Jonathan's defeat in 2015, do you think it will affect him in this forthcoming election?
I have said that time and time again. I will say it again, that it certainly is going to affect him. Certainly in terms of the presidential, it's going to affect him. In the governorship, it's a different ball game. Because why I'm saying in the governorship, a different ball game is this, the candidates that are contesting. But in the presidential, we're talking about presidential, it's going to affect him. You know why? Because even if Jonathan were to be up and whatever now and about, his supporters will say, I will not vote for an Amaechi person, because this is what he did to pay back time. We have seen that happening. And I've seen even as it is, Amaechi being the vice presidential candidate of, an Atiku Abubakar, who cannot boast of somebody to say, this politician is an Amaechi man that is influential in Rivers State. For years, so Wike that is talking about Tinubu, I can boast of people who are behind him. Political Europeans and Obeches. You understand? The pantheon. Wike has a pantheon of, politicians around him. You might not like them, but I can measure about 10 as I'm sitting down here. That I know, come rain, come shine. They are coming out for a year, so Wike. But have we seen that kind of, assemblage? Oh, let's even forget about having an assemblage. Can you tell me about 3 people who can beat their chest and say they are going to Amaechi is the vice? See, the vice presidential candidacy of a man from Rivers State should be shaking Rivers State to his political roots. When Kashim Shettima was given even there was Muslim ticket, you saw what happened in Borno State, Kebbi State, Jigawa. There was a tsunami, kind of eruptions there. But in this period, we have very placid, lukewarm, lugubrious, political. There are no eruptions. In fact, what we have is, what we have right now is I describe it like a dormant volcano they call Monte Vesuvus. It's in Italy. That mountain is just there. It's a volcano, but it looks like a mountain. You go there, it's a mountain, it's a hill, but it's a volcano, very powerful volcano. But I think it's only once that's erupted. There should be political eruptions in the ecosystem in Rivers State by the virtue of the fact that somebody from here is, I don't know if you understand, the ADC as a political party is not visible.
In Rivers
State. Talk less of the campaign for what's it called, Atiku Abubakar. Who is heading Atiku Abubakar's campaign? Yes, okay, has been up and about, very visible.
Thank you for watching that video. So guys, before you leave, look at the down here. Do well to subscribe and also put on your notification bell so that whenever we upload any video in this great platform, you will be the first to see it. And please don't forget to drop your comment at the comment section what you think about this video, your opinion as well. See guys, this is where I'm going to end the video, and I will see you guys some other time.